Hey, this is Keith, and you're listening to my podcast, Keith Has Friends. You're delusional. You're delusional. You have no friends. We love you. Welcome again to Keith Has a Podcast. My name is Keith Guerrero, and I will be your host for this cast. Now, what is this podcast? Well, over the past 27 years of living, I, Keith Guerrero, have traveled far and wide and met a variety of people, a lot of which I would like to talk about in this kind of setting, get to know them a little bit more. And so what this is basically just a shoot the shit type of podcast. We talk about anything and everything, and we'll kind of get to see a little glimpse of everybody's lives, at least the lives that I've been blessed to have seen thus far, and to see a little bit of what they think. But because all my friends are busy right now, I guess with this first episode, I'll talk a little bit about myself. So where I'm from, it's an interesting question. Thank you for asking. My ethnic background, I'm from Guam, Japan, and Lithuania. This was confirmed by a genetics test, so that is very nice to hear that I am not a mailman's kid. I am my mother and father's son. So I've always felt great about that. I was born in Germany. I was a military brat. My dad was in the military, Army, 20 years. We've traveled all over. I lived in Washington, Michigan, New York. I've lived in Japan for a summer. I've lived in Guam. But for the majority of my life, I've lived in Texas, Central Texas, in Killeen, near Fort Hood, where my dad decided to retire. After that, I went to college in Denton at the University of North Texas, where I received my bachelor's in philosophy with minors in recreation and leisure, social sciences, and business management. I was also a resident assistant, so I can relate to a lot of you residence lifers out there for the things that you may go through. After my 4 years at UNT, I moved to San Diego, California, where my sister was living at the time, crashed on her couch for a few months, and then began to feel what it was like to be an adult. I got my first full-time job. I worked part-time at Red Lobster as a host. My full-time job was a residential advisor at San Diego Job Corps. Just got to develop a lot as a person, and then kind of moved on from there. But as I was in San Diego, I was there for only a year, and I decided that I needed to pursue graduate school to achieve my career goals. And so I looked at schools in Pennsylvania because I felt very connected to my grandfather at the time. One of my memories was fishing on a pond in Pennsylvania with him. And so I looked for schools in Pennsylvania, and I was accepted to the higher education program at Penn State. It was a Master of Science program. So traveled across the country. I drove from San Diego to Texas, and then from Texas to Pennsylvania, where I stayed for another 2 years. Met a lot of good people there, a lot of people that I believe I'll bring onto this podcast and just talk about stuff. But yes, I was working at Penn State for 2 years. I worked with the Lion Scouts organization there, along with completing several internships, both at Penn State and at Georgetown University. And that was a lot of times where I was growing as well and learning a lot about myself and about life. After I graduated from Penn State, I moved to Dallas, Texas, where my support group and my friends are. I have a really close friendship with 4 other friends of mine. We're kind of a fivesome. Me, Jacob, Pia, Joe, and Aaron. And they're kind of my support system, and I've been living in Dallas ever since. I currently room with 2 of those best friends. We are roommates. The other 2 we hang out with as well. But yeah, currently I'm a Lyft driver. So after receiving both of my degrees, I became a Lyft driver. And part of that is because there is an entrepreneurial aspect to it. I do consider myself very entrepreneurial. And then a second thing is just the topic of higher education in general and the value of colleges and universities in as it stands today. I do have some thoughts about that, but I'll definitely save that for that deserves its own, episode. But yeah, that's a little bit about me and my background. As far as hobbies are concerned, I love mixed martial arts. That's the only sport I follow. I love following MMA athletes. My girl Ronda Rousey, I'll always be a diehard fan of hers. And yeah, I like video games. I love playing Overwatch right now. That's definitely something that I do to pass the time while I'm not lifting, and trying to also enhance just my skill set. Currently, I'm like learning different Adobe platforms and softwares. I'm looking to get into photography, video editing, photoshopping, the whole nine. And that's a little bit about me. I am in a place right now where I'm trying to figure out what I want to do, but I've always thought about doing a podcast. So I thought this idea is funny. I definitely have a sense of humor, but I think that this will be a nice little entertainment thing on the side while I try to figure out what I want to do. So thank you for tuning in this long, and hopefully I'll be able to bring you on, because I guarantee if you're listening to this, you're one of my friends, and I thank you for that. All right, take care. Goodbye.